And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of All the Mods 10. I'm your host, Undisturbed Potato, and today we are going to start working on the fusion reactor. Yes, this reactor is tiny, but it delivers a big package, and that package comes in the form of energy. So, what we are going to need to do this episode is set up another twin tower with a little water station so that we can make some tritium and extract some deuterium, mix them together in an infuser, throw it in a little hologram thingy, I don't know what it's called, toss it in our reactor and light that baby up. So that's going to be a fun little process in of itself. We're going to get building to that, and this is all the material that I have prepared for this episode. First, we're going to start off with our thermal towers. Instead of jumping into Reactor just yet, however, I will do something else instead. What, you may ask? Well, I don't know if you guys ever got into productive trees before. I have just once, but let me count this first just because I'll lose my train of thought. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 18. Okay. If I built this, it should be 18 left. Oh, did I not count correctly? Or is my math wrong? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, 15, 16, 17, 18. I don't know where my brain went for a moment. However, we got it now. And we can easily check this by tossing a stack right there on our bar. Come over here, aim at that corner, right click, and just like that, 17 did disappear, which means the bottom layer is the 18th, so we are good. Okay, back to what I was talking about before I kind of lost my train of thought, was productive trees. So, if you thought you were going to get to skip this mod altogether, well, guess what? You were wrong. Why, you may ask? Well, it turns out it is part of what is needed for the crafting tree, for the Aldemodium star. To be more exact, it is the Scoria tree. Oh no, the Socotra dragon sapling. So, we're gonna need a few saplings to craft one of the things, but that doesn't really matter too much because I'm gonna show you how easy it is to get into this mod. Honestly, I think I've only messed with it once, and that was literally a week before I decided to do the series, and that was just because I was a bit curious as to how it worked. So we will dive into that, and turns out it is pretty easy. It just isn't very detailed when it comes to explaining things, so that could be one of the only reasons why it might feel a little hard, but other than that, super easy, very cool. But yeah, let's get done with this, which for the most part we are. Just toss a few of these guys down, and we just got to heat them up. So yep, and then we'll put the heaters right here on the side, just because it'll be a little bit easier when it comes to powering everything. So toss these guys right there and right there. Sweet. Now we have some extras. Toss those in. I'm gonna leave these guys a little different from those and leave the tops filled in. But now we just come by, toss this, boom boom, and boom boom. Pretty sure this is pretty easy. We'll just set these guys to 10k. Doesn't really matter how much energy we're using. We're making almost 3.4, or maybe even more than that at this point. I did increase the fizzle fuel burn rate last episode. If you guys were with me, you guys understand, or you guys know. If you guys don't know, well, oh damn. Looks like I ran out of fuel. Just gotta make sure this guy's not using energy. Okay, cool. So we have a ton of energy available. We're not using any right now. But yeah, seems like I'm also gonna have to throw down a few more sulfur seeds just because I didn't expect that to happen. And if I come over here, okay, uranium, we're fine. But yeah, sulfur, not so much. So that's our limiting factor. I do have our farm. I do have a lot of plots available just because I did add a second layer. So that shouldn't be an issue. So back to this. We'll still leave it at that. Let's see, flux point. We'll just use a new one. I'll leave these guys set as is. And I did manage to figure out how to turn on both of those supercharged coils, as you can see. I just put another one down there, and for some reason it decided to start working. Even though I had it, I just took it off, put a new one, started working. Sometimes you gotta love this game, or love how it decides to work. Alright. Okay, now I'm back. For some reason I just blanked out and couldn't really think what I was doing, but yeah, I was trying to set up this little sink so that we could get water put in here. And just like before, we are... So it's not connecting to the pressurized. So, will it connect to mechanical? It will. Perfect. So, set that back to wrench. Put these two down. And then all we gotta do is set this to extract. Then just like that, we are producing brine. And if we check the other one, it should be producing some lithium. Yes, that's what it's called. Dang. We are burning through water like crazy. That is very impressive. So if I check over here, this guy's being produced at a very insane rate. So we're gonna need some rotary condensators. We'll line up just like this. So we'll do this again. Set that to extract, and just like that, all these guys, if we flip their operation, they will start producing the lithium. These guys will require some power, so let's hook them up real quick. Drag this from over here, and just like that, they are all powered. And then we are going to be extracting all this lithium and be connecting it to this solar neutron activator. Why are we doing that? That's because this guy can basically make whatever you need basically instantly. All you do have to do is provide it with access to the sun. And that's the reason why we only have one of these guys down over there near our reactor. So do that, and just like that. We'll worry about all that extra stuff later. For now, we just want to make sure we can get this fully operational so we could start producing fuel for our fusion reactor. And then same thing here, if you ever need to come figure out how this stuff works, you can always go into the configuration, take a quick look, and as you can see right here, we are going to be outputting to the pressurized cables. So just go into each of them, make sure you're on chemicals. I like clearing it just because it makes it a little simpler. Come, clear, double click, output, and just like that, all this is getting lithium. Lithium will build up here and then be sent over here. But this is getting sent way slower. Wonder if I set this with extraction, if it'll be faster. And just like that, if we come over here, everything was basically made instantly. So we are getting some tritium. Maybe it's because this is being produced slower. So if we come over here, kind of forgot I had these upgrades ready. If we just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, come over here and double check it, that looks way better, producing it nearly instantly. What's cool is these pipes do have the ability for backlog. So we hover over the pressurized tubes. Each one can hold up to 1,000 millibuckets, which is, or yeah, I mean, it says 1,000 millibuckets per tick, but if I am correct, it can store a good amount in each one. As you can see, we're so far past that. Yeah, so we got tritium. We are going to be putting some in a little chemical tank just because I do want to see how fast we are producing it. Just because when you do put the speed upgrades, it does say it increases the effect by 16 times, which means here we are producing 5 per tick originally, would turn into what, 80 per tick. So this should be doing pretty good, I think. I'm not too sure, but we'll forget about that, because next up on our list is these electric pumps. Okay, so we got our power, and then we could just bring it directly across. I'm not trying to go for aesthetics right now. All I care about are these guys pumping? Answer yes. Number 2, give them this. Why do we give the pumps a filter? Well, that is the only way to be able to get these guys to pump deuterium. I do know that you do get 50 millibuckets per tick as soon as you put that on. The one question that I cannot answer is if when we put the upgrades in, if it actually increases, because if it does, I think if I did the math correctly, what was it? 50 times 60, that's 800 millibuckets per tick, which would be very phenomenal. And as you can see, after this guy pumped the water that it was originally holding, it is now pumping heavy water. Okay, cool. Once we have all the upgrades in these guys as well as the filters, all you have to do is connect them to these mechanical pipes and it'll start putting the heavy water in here. As you can see, it's already starting, and the sooner the better, just because it does take a little while to build up a nice little repertoire. Just kidding. Have a good amount of them. So we'll do this, and from the top we will connect our mechanical cables. Okay, do you, buddy? Don't really care. But we'll do this one on each side, and then we'll connect the power through the bottom. So we'll do that. Sweet. Let's grab this guy back, move that, and just like that, all the heavy water is getting pumped into the pipes, which is then getting put into the electrolytic separators, where here we are going to want to be dumping excess when it comes to oxygen. We are going to want to keep as much deuterium as possible, because this is going to be needed to combine with the tritium in the chemical infuser to get a wee bit of the DT fuel. So we come over here and put DT. We are going to need the hull rams, and we're going to be making them through the metallurgic infuser. I already inputted this recipe so I could just automatically craft it, but with this it does not specify how you get the fuel into it. However, if you click over here into the chemical infuser and see how you can actually make the DT fuel, as you can see, one of each does produce the DT fuel. All you have to do is shift click the hull ram and it'll automatically get put right here, which will immediately fill it. Just a little FYI if you guys were confused as to how to do that. So I'm gonna bring this guy over here. I am gonna put him right here, and then all of them are going to need pressurized tubes. So we got one. If we come over here and we check chemicals, we are going to be wanting output 1, which is getting output from the left, but we don't really care. We're gonna clear it. We want it outputting directly from the front. Same thing over here. So clear, output. Whoa, okay. Chemicals, clear from the front only. So then we'll get the tube. We'll do this, and we'll connect them just like that, and it'll produce us some DT fuel. So let's get the hull ram, if I could ever spell that correctly. Click this one, start. Alright, a little note to self: if you do, or if you are using an advanced pattern provider, you cannot put a normal pattern inside. You do need to turn it into an advanced pattern. So yeah, that's kind of why I keep these guys on me. I made a lot of them by accident, and every time I usually craft one of the patterns into advanced patterns, I accidentally put it away, but doesn't matter since I have so many. But yeah, if you come over here, you can see we're building up some fuel. The only thing we were lacking is some power, so we can fix that real quick. Just like that, and then if we toss that in the middle, as you can see, we filled that up quickly. So we'll turn this off, just because we are not going to want to fill this up completely. Reason why is because if we are going to do this, we're going to want to make this at a rate of 500 millibuckets per tick and input that directly into the fusion reactor. But what I do want to do for right now is do a little tap off this guy. So do this, and then same thing for the tritium. I want to do a little tap off it. Why? Because I want to see how fast these guys will fill up, just so I could have a rough idea of how fast we are producing this tritium and deuterium. So first, let's give these guys an upgrade, just because they do sound like they are struggling to stay awake. So we'll go 1 2 1 2. Can't forget this guy, he's part of the program. Just like that, everybody should be working at an insane pace. So take a quick look. Deuterium 512. So it looks like it's producing 512 per tick. So if that's true, does that mean this is enough for our reactor? Depends on that side. It is nighttime, so let's take a quick nap. So if we take a look at this one, this one's a wee bit slower, where it looks like it's almost at 1,000 millibuckets every time it changes. So now we know tritium is going to be our lagging point, so what we can do here is probably add some more rotary condensers, just because it looks like this is holding up on its end. But just like that, we'll leave these two at it, and we will get busy with the reactor. All right, so to get nice and busy with this big boy, all we have to do is come over here to the quest line. We could always come down here to mechanism reactors, and if you just look at this picture, you could kind of see how to make it. So it is basically a little 5x5, just with a wee bit of indentation. The outside will be the casing, while the inside will be glass, except for about 4 blocks, or I'd say 5 blocks. One, you're going to need the laser to accept energy. Another is going to be the controller. The other 3 will be these ports. Reason being, to produce tritium, or to keep this reactor running, we are going to be inputting tritium here and deuterium there, and then we're going to need the other port to extract energy. However, how I said earlier, if you do want to increase the amount of energy being produced by this guy, you can make it import straight deuterium, or DT fuel, my bad. But if you want to do straight DT fuel, how I said, that does come at a consumption rate of about 500 millibuckets per tick, which is insanely crazy fast. So if you are not at that stage, I do not recommend getting into it, just because you might be overshooting just a wee bit. But yeah, just like this, in just a little bit we'll be done. So I'll be back. This is the pattern for those of you that are still confused. Alright, now for the finishing touches. After getting this all placed down, I am going to have this laser input setup facing this way. So we are going to want to put our laser focus matrix down right there. These adapters I have never used yet, however, I am going to try learning them just so I know how they are used. Here, since our thing is getting created on this side, I will be putting the ports in on this end. So we'll mine these guys, put these two right there, put a nice little glass right there. Oh yeah, the glass is reactor glass, just in case, just because that one is using structural. Nice little thing to remember. We are going to be taking out power on this end, just because our power bank is right there, and on this end, we're just going to put another piece of glass. At the top, in the center, we are going to want to put this reactor controller, and just like that, when you see that redstone pop off, that's how you know you assembled this correctly. So, when you come over here, you can see all the different things, whether it's the heat, the fuel, stats, and then these guys, where you could also double check that. But if you come here to the fuel, you can always change the injection rate. Here, the injection rate is set at 2, but if you are producing enough tritium and deuterium, you can set this all the way up to 98. That is the max, and that should produce you about, I believe, 80 million RF per tick. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. When we get there, you'll see whether that's true or not. So now that we have this guy here, the next thing that I do want to get set up is the laser. So why are we setting up the laser? That's because we are going to have to build up 400 million RF before we can turn this baby on. Yep, there it is. Amplifier. Here's the lasers. So we're going to want to face this guy in. Oh, nope. Wrong block. I don't know what I did there. We'll place it that way. Let's see. Will this guy let us rotate it? Is that right? Nope. Come on. Nope. Yep. There we go. Sweet. Just like that. This guy is nice and set. These lasers, if you put them, they'll point automatically towards what you do want. So I usually just build out a little bit on each side, and then you just destroy the inner 2 blocks, and then you can just place it down. And just like that, we have 4 lasers pointing in. Looks like this guy charged up a little bit while he was in my inventory. So we'll mine all of these guys, give them some cables, yes, these guys, and then connect it to another flux point, and hopefully this should charge it pretty quickly. Alright, now that I got my lasers set up, yes, this is a bit excessive, however, I thought this looked kinda cool. Now I just hope it does work. So if I put this here and give it the network and set it to bypass, just like that. Look at that line of energy just getting shot in here, which is moving a decent amount of energy. However, I wish it was a wee bit faster. So we are going to have to wait just a little while to make sure this does fill up. Alright guys, so after a little while of charging up and fixing some things around the place, we did put our chemical tanks here. So to get this into the reactor, all we have to do is come over here, make sure reconfigure this so that's output, just like that. As you saw, it is outputting it into the fusion reactor. So we just come over here, do the same thing where we put output, and just like that, this guy is now filled with deuterium and tritium. Cool thing is, it'll automatically combine over here to make DT fuel. That's the reason why you have the injection rate, so you could customize it. However, how I said earlier, if you are just trying to pump straight DT fuel into the thing, you do not have the choice to control how much you are pumping in. It will be accepting 500 millibuckets per tick, and that's how you get the 200 million RF per tick. With this, I'm pretty sure if at 2, we will get a good amount of, or we'll check it right now. Alright guys, so after some technical difficulties, we are back. We have set up our chemical tanks, and this one's pumping the deuterium, this one's pumping the tritium into their respective ports. Of course, to get it to pump, you do have to go into the configuration and make sure you set it up correctly. Okay, so now that this is charged up And we're over here. All we have to do is put the hologram right there, just like that. This guy should be ready since it's pumped up. It has a hologram. We should be able to come over here, right click that, and just like that, we shot the 400 million RF. So if we max it out at 400 million, if this were to ever turn off, we could always come back over here, right click it, and just like that, this guy will be back up and running. So if we come over here and we hover over this, we can see we are currently producing about 320,000 RF per tick, which doesn't seem right. So let's boost this to 50. And if we come over here, if we give it a little bit, this should increase quite a lot. As you can see, it's going up pretty rapidly. Yep, and just like that, I did forget that you do have to set this to output so that this will be able to send the energy outside. So it looks like right now we are producing about 5 million RF per tick, and it's going up very slowly. If we take a look over here, we can see all the energy we are producing. Check out the stats. You can see all this stuff. Do I understand what all this is? No, I do not. However, it looks pretty cool. And if we come back over here, we'll go back to the fuel, and I'm going to set it at 98 just because I do want to see how much energy we can produce by having it that high. Of course, right now, as you can see, these guys are going to be going down over time, but that's not too much of a worry for me just because I do plan on connecting these guys over there and running it like that for a little bit. However, when I take a look over here at the deuterium or the DT fuel, it looks like I'm approaching the 500 millibuckets per tick ratio. Looks like our little setup over here is producing just enough heavy water and is producing the deuterium at an incredible rate so that we don't have to worry about that half. However, if we come take a look at our solar neutron activator, you can tell that it is limited over here to producing about 221 tritium per tick. So I'm assuming if I were to make at least 2 more of these guys, we should be able to bump this rate up to 14 or at least 1200 millibuckets, which is a little over double what we are going to need, and send it pumping in there. Why do I want it to be double? Well, I do plan on making a little chemical tank area so that we can store the excess deuterium or DT fuel, so that when it does turn nighttime, we could just access whatever's in the tanks and automatically fill it in here, just because I don't feel like automating it to where we are going to be turning it night automatically. I'll worry about that at a later point in time, just because I don't see it as being too necessary as of right now. But looks like we are producing 15 million RF per tick, which is lower than what I thought this would be making. But I am not going to complain about it, just because I could actually come over here and turn this reactor on. I kind of had to set up some more sulfur seeds to produce enough sulfur to make sure we are producing this fuel, just because we did run out and our supply was not doing anything. So I have about 6 sulfur seeds planted as of this moment, and it is doing an okay job, but can be better. As you can see, it is going down, so I might have to expand our mystical agricultural farm and or get into a little bit of industrial foregoing and using the hydroponic beds, just because we can soul surge them, which will help us produce some sulfur at a very incredible rate, which we might do in the next episode along with covering the trees. I know I did say in the beginning of this episode that we were going to jump into this, however, due to waiting and having a lot of issues around certain areas and getting everything up to speed, the recording has went past what I wanted it to, and I kind of don't know how much footage that is usable. So what I am going to do is let's put 10 million. Sweet. Now this guy's producing this at an even faster rate. Let's see. Cool. Honestly, I could probably make this, or let's do 12.5. Yeah, I think that's a fair amount. And if we come over here, it is going a little bit faster than before, but we do now have 19 antimatter pellets, which is huge because we are going to need quite a few of these to help us make these improbable probability devices, which will be used in this recipe to help us craft all the mod star. So this is going to be very useful for that, as well as making a few other things in mechanism. As you can see, we can make the mecha suit. After all, it's only locked by unobtainium gear, which is nothing too crazy. So if you ever want to jump into that and use that armor instead, that would be pretty cool. I might do it. I don't know just yet. As of right now, I am just trying to work out the kinks and get these things up and going. But yeah, just like that, guys, we managed to make ourselves the fusion reactor, get everything set up for it, and basically be at a point where we are producing almost the 500 millibuckets per tick. How I said, if you do have this setup, I do recommend adding another solar neutron activator or two to get to your desired target, just because that'll help you hit that threshold. So then you could just pump DT fuel straight into this guy so that you could get the max amount of energy from it. There is a way to water cool it and produce steam, which we can then use to connect to the turbine generator and produce even more energy, which is something that I am a little bit interested in, and I plan on getting into that. But I think if I were to do that, I would add another turbine right here and we'll mess around with that. But just like that, guys, we got the main thing done, have everything set up, kind of walked you guys through the process on how to do that, and talked a little bit of how you could improve this. As you can see, if we take a quick look over here, the one reason why I do like the induction matrix is because you can see how much energy you are inputting and how much you are outputting, which is pretty nice. So with that, I do apologize about the productive trees. It's just kind of got lost in the sauce with all the technical difficulties and the recording time being kind of long, and unsure of how much footage is usable. So if you guys enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave a like, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, let me know down in the comments. If you guys want me to explain anything a little bit better, just let me know. If you have any questions about what we are going to do to make this even better, just ask. I don't mind helping you guys out. After all, it is pretty simple, or to me, it's getting more simple as I continue playing. However, for you guys, it might not be that simple. So make sure to ask questions. I will answer them, because I remember not too long ago, I did not know how to use applied energistics at all for auto crafting, or in any sense, way, shape, or form. I was using just refined storage to just throw everything in it and auto craft things by hand. But yeah, so if you are confused, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed, just put it down there. I'm pretty sure somebody else has the same question and they might be afraid to ask it. So whatever you do ask may help you and other people that might be looking for the same answer. And as to how we can make things a little bit better without running cables everywhere, I'd say the entangled porter is pretty cool. As you can see, I'm already starting to save some DT fuel in it so that I could just connect another one directly in front of the port, import it wirelessly, and that'll be how I'm gonna do it later. So, that guys, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, peace.